What? Hell yeah, what? Hell yeah. Can I get a hell yeah? What? Can I get a hell yeah? What? Hell yeah, what? Hell yeah. And I know it ain't right, and I know you shouldn't take this advice, but make sure you really drunk when you drive and walk on some glass with no shoes on and don't pay for your meal. Dine and dash. You better not ask me for no advice because I'm gonna tell you the wrong thing to do. So can I get a hell yeah? What? Yeah. Hell yeah. What? Hell yeah. Get ready for Mike. No.
Now you go to the Ritz-Carlton, you go to the Hilton, you go to all those things. They're putting their profits back into your experience. Super 8 is taking that money for themselves.
Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, they're investing it in the wall of their own places.
It just in Bactine and Purell. Like that's all they're investing.
They have a big backstop of grain and AR-15s.
They're focused on their ice makers. Ice makers are just, they never run out of ice. They give you those. They don't give you the cubes. What I like is they give you the cylinders that aren't hollow. Like I like it. It's like like two bottoms of the wine barrels or the wine bottles put together. That's what I want in a cube.
It's like a broken man, just the shell.
Just exactly. Yeah. What if we made the whole cube out of the broken man?
Steve Ausburne, you look like a guy who tells other people how to live.
It's what I do.
And that's what I like about you.
Yeah. Tell me about you. This sounds like you've got yourself quite this is a giving thing, right? This is you wanting to be, this is a good steward of your knowledge.
Ever since I was but a boy, Steve, I've been telling people, hey, you should do this, you should do that. I mean, giving advice up the wazoo.
Absolutely.
I told my second grade teacher, I said, hey, you need to get a divorce.
I told my boss where he could stick that paperwork. And you know what? He didn't listen, and look at him now.
He owns Super 8 Motel.
And I'm trying to nuzzle my way to his stepdaughter.
Before we get into the nitty gritty, you're an important guy. You got things to say. You got places people can find you.
Sure. You can always follow me on the Instagram at Ozfest. AUSFEST. You can go to my website, and it's kept up occasionally, and that's just steveausburne.com. I have a Twitter account that is very dormant, so you can see what I said a long time ago and say, yeah, he probably shouldn't host the Oscars.
I love
either.
those 2015 deep cuts.
Let me tell you a little something about my Twitter account. That was when there was the original character limitations. Okay, so everything's very brief. It's a lot of brevity, because I was pithy, but because they wouldn't allow me to say more.
A lot of hot black-eyed pea taste.
That's right. I'm like, hey, you know what? This LMFAO band, I think they're going to take off.
You know what? I think will.i.am would be better off as a solo artist, and I stand by that.
That's right. I know. I was the same way. My takes were more like Fergie, will.i.am. No, give me more Asian.
I need it. So you're an important guy in the comedy community in the Bay Area. Do you give advice to people?
I try. Like I tell a lot of people they should quit. I think and that's just coming from that. That's me trying to I'm telling myself advice through them.
You're living vicariously.
Yeah. I was like, hey, you know what you should do? You should be loved by your family. Try that out.
Hey, maybe the stage isn't for you. Maybe you keep your day job of touring the Manchester Mystery House.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Whatever your day, I don't even know what your day job is, but I promise it's better.
No, you work at the Wax Museum? It's my dream. You know?
My gosh. Could you imagine working at the Wax Museum? How great that would be?
It'd be, just 24/7 hard-ons and just...
Yeah, because I would be folding their own wax into hard-ons. Like that's what I would be like. There's the tour after dark where I'm just running around just going, yeah, there we go. All right, kids.
You have never seen Robert Duvall quite like this.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people like that's what I love about wax museums, like how much they feature character actors.
Yeah.
And Robert Duvall is for sure. They're like, oh, you know what? That's great. I love the Duvall, but is there a Robert Loggia? Is that's what I really am looking for. I want. I want to definitely be with the guy that owned the toy company in Big.
Yeah. We need the guy with the big eyebrows from American Pie and Schitt's Creek.
That's right. Do you have Donald Pleasance? Dr. Loomis from Halloween.
I need Paul Giamatti, and I need Paul Giamatti now.
That's right. I just need the whole cast of Wings. Do you have the entire cast of Wings? I want Tyne and Timothy Daly if you've got them.
Give me the poor man Succession billions stat.
See, then this whole podcast is us naming B-list actors that would be at our wax museum. This is great. Who wouldn't tune into this?
It's going to be amazing. I'm going to have Robert De Niro, but just when he put on a lot of weight for Raging Bull.
Exactly. I want fat Russell Crowe only.
Oh,
don't you give me that Gladiator Crowe. I do not want A Beautiful Mind. Mm-hmm. I want the Jekyll and Hyde version of Russell Crowe. And you go, oh, yeah, he's still working.
Mm-hmm. He's there. And I'm only going to be playing blasting Irish shanties.
I want Brendan Fraser now, not as a wax dummy, but he's hired to pretend he's his own wax dummy.
He has to stand there still with a cowboy hat on for at least 8 hours.
He just has to sit there stifling tears as people go, wow, this one really let itself go.
Wow, he's really sweating a lot. He looks like he's melting. He can't have any snack breaks, but he can fill up one side of his mouth with sunflower seeds.
And just work it through. Just come by every once in a while, and it's just you can look. We're gonna have a signal that no one else can see. You just do 3 taps with your finger on your pocket, and that lets you know we got to reload the seeds.
We have a big funnel like a hamster cage.
It's just coming around. He just gets up to it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Hey, say what you will about Brendan Fraser, has a talented tongue.
He learned it at a young age. He learned it in George of the Jungle.
So you give advice. You tell people they quit. What do you think's the best piece of advice that you've gotten?
As a comic or just in general?
It could be as in general.
Okay, so I will say, and this is probably me getting maybe a little bit more serious. Like I was told when I was like the first time I became a supervisor, my manager told me, he says, look, you made your bones by doing work. Now you gonna make your bones by telling other people to do that work.
What, do you work in a cemetery?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and then he just sort of tipped his very dusty cowboy hat and he went off into the fog. And I'm like, I don't know who that person is.
Oh my God, that's fucking! I didn't know the guy who voiced the Coors commercials was your boss.
Yeah, no, it was and I remember thinking that was like kind of obvious advice, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, that's. I mean, how's your relationship with your father, Mike?
You know what? It's not bad.
Okay.
It's surprisingly, it's a pretty good relate. You saw my face and you're like, that comes from a bad father.
No. I wasn't judging your father. I just figured your mother was doing the heavy lifting.
Oh, I mean, for sure. I was a fat little boy.
So do you feel like you get advice from your father? Like he imparts wisdom upon you?
Oh, we would have a fireplace. And as a young boy, he would bring me, it would be 12, it'd be midnight, it'd be past my bedtime. He would be on his 12th Coors.
Ooh, I like this.
Okay. That Colorado Kool-Aid.
That's right.
And then he would sit me down. He's like, you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
That's right. I like a little liquid wisdom at midnight. Wake up, son. Come here. I'm going to give you a platitude I just thought of. Never let him see you sweat.
If you cry, you're no longer allowed at my Thanksgiving. You gotta go.
Just tears in his eyes as he's telling you this. I love it. He
was crying the whole time.
Yeah, I had an estranged father. I don't know if I should say he's estranged. He was just not always engaged, so I didn't get a lot of advice. I got like requests for things like he could borrow, which is not the same as advice. So like I think I've looked through life like trying, like I appreciate advice from people that seem like they're in a good position to give it, right?
Absolutely.
And it's funny how often people that look like they're in the least position to give advice are so willing to provide that advice for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Like with comedy, like for example, I love it when a really bad comic gives me notes.
Mhm.
Like that is just wonderful. Like
They're
what
like-
I would do. And I'm like, I know what you would do. You would bomb your dick off.
Yeah. What you need to do is wear leather gloves and then take them off slowly before going on stage.
Because nothing says pay attention to me like a slight little male striptease from someone who's clearly not a stripper.
Ooh, reveal that third knuckle? Oh, how tantalizing.
Let him just tease it out there. Is that a wedding ring? I can't tell.
I don't know, but he's going to let those calluses breathe, and I'm excited. Now, I've been trying to gather a lot of advice. I've been listening to audiobooks, trying to get advice from them. I read George Carlin's book the other day, and he had a good one. It was dig deep, not wide. I think it was to focus on like, hey, you focus on doing one thing and do it really well.
That's great.
Yeah,
No, actually, that brings up a really good a piece of advice that I got. Like I learned in one of these sort of like, you go to these different work seminars that tell you how to do different things, and that's kind of the same vein, right? Like they said, basically emphasize strengths. Right. And like so a lot of times I think it's like, well, we got to make you more well-rounded. You're good at this. Well, now let's get you to be good at this. And instead it's like, no, be the best at this. And then if you're a good leader, you will put other people that can fill in the blanks around them. Right. But let the people accentuate people's skill sets. Right. As opposed to trying to dilute them with like, with this so-called nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
If you got you've got a guy who's great at building gazebos, he's the gazebo guy.
He's the gazebo guy.
Have him build the gazebo.
Right. And you're not gonna be like, well, hey, could you also play saxophone in the gazebo once it's built? It's like, I've never played saxophone. It's like, well, that would be a really great thing if you could just do that. Like, no, you go get Tim Capello from the Lost Boys. He'll play saxophone once that gazebo is built.
Absolutely. You don't have time going to a soul food diner and going through a whole Aretha Franklin song just to get your saxophone guy.
Exactly. Thank you.
So here at it's the Hell Yeah podcast, by the way.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's the Hell Yeah podcast. And we're here to give advice. And so I've gathered some people looking for advice. We're going to read what they need advice on, and then we're going to give advice.
Great.
Go ahead. Feel free to interrupt me at any time.
Awesome. That's what makes for a good podcast. When the person who's running the podcast is interrupted by the guest like that, I tell you that it's so good for the listener when they don't know who's talking. I think a lot of podcasts focus on coherency. No, that's not what the audience wants.
Old news.
All right. So that's first piece of advice for any aspiring podcaster that's listening to this podcast is just, you know what? No one can hear you unless everyone's talking at the same time.
And Steve, if there's any way you could hijack this podcast with a 30-minute story of how a sitcom went, that'd be awesome.
Oh, that sounds great.
I want the whole storyline of It Takes Three,
That's right. No, I would tell you, I mean, whether it's some of the very special episodes of Different Strokes, and there was plenty, I mean, anyway, look, we'll save that for the 2 minutes from now when I take over.
Seven's Heaven is coming in a big way for everyone, for all our Heaven fans out there.
I got some Love Boat things I got to talk about.
Dear Hell Yeah podcast, my husband has a habit of getting involved in family or social events at the very last minute, making changes to the plans. Prior to the last minute, he has no involvement. What he actually does is just to mess everything up a day or two beforehand. This Father's Day was my last straw. Our grown children had planned a cookout at one of my son's house. The kids had coordinated it and assigned various dishes for each to bring. Friday evening, my husband asked what time Father's Day dinner was on Sunday. I said, I didn't know. So he started saying, I want Father's Day here. This is my holiday, my house, and I want it here. Mike, my father passed away last month. My husband said, so we're never having Father's Day for the rest of our lives because your dad died? I was shocked and angry. I replied, I'm not having it this year, and I never plan on having it, as you have 4 adult children. I do every birthday and holiday. They can do Father's Day. He then said, I'm not comfortable anywhere but my own house, which I know is untrue. What is wrong with him?
Wow. There's a lot to unpack there.
There's a lot there.
So there's the final question was, what is wrong with him?
What is wrong with him?
Now, is that what we're here to do, is diagnose this this husband, or do we want to help her through? I mean, like, there's so many different, like, I can't I mean, first off, you should leave your husband. Like, I mean, I think that's a given, right? I mean, I don't think that this podcast is like breaking any new ground when we say
leave your husband, try to find a new man, preferably very rich. I hear that Kanye is on the market.
Right. I mean, there's so many options. You know what? Find yourself maybe even a woman that would be especially grateful.
Absolutely.
So somebody who's maybe like down on their luck, like find a homeless person.
Mm-hmm. Somebody who knows the Dewey Decimal System. Right.
Or at least is Dewey themselves, right? Like you want somebody who's like just they have a little bit of moisture on the outside.
A little bit of stickiness.
Yeah. Oh, now we're cooking. Now, you know what? I might be the person you're looking for. So I mean, there's a lot here, right? Like, and speaking as somebody who is a father, who is married to a mother, not his own mother, I want to make this very clear. The topic of like Father's Day, Mother's Day comes up a lot. And for me, look, I don't do much, like, I don't have a lot of expectations for Father's Day because as we discussed a little bit, I just don't think fathers are great. By and large, I'm glad you guys have a great relationship. So for me, the idea of being celebrated seems like maybe not, right?
You could just use a trip to the wax museum and you're good.
Yeah. For me, Father's Day is a poor man's Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So with Mother's Day, but there would always be some tension in the house when my wife would be like watching me do a lot of work for Mother's Day and like trying to corral the kids. And she's like, well, I really would for her, she's like, I would prefer that the kids put in the effort because then that feels like they actually are honoring me on Mother's Day. If it becomes a chore or an errand, then it feels like, well, then it actually makes her feel worse, right?
It's not special.
It's not special, right? So I do kind of appreciate to some degree that he's taken back Father's Day. He's like, this is my day. It's going to be at my house. And I'm going to tell you all what I think of you. Like, part of me is like, well, you know what? Let him do it, right?
But also, I like the psychopathic dedication of having this whole plan that your kid's filled up. And he's like, no, I have my shows to watch.
Here's what I want to do. I want you to, like that. Maybe that's his whole thing, right? He loves the idea of having agency because maybe he feels like he doesn't have agency in his regular life. So for him to upset a plan is like the greatest thing, right? Like, I'm going to come in, like, you know what you guys have done my whole life is you've interrupted my life with your nonsense. Ooh, look, I drew this for you. Hey, I have a play. Can you sign this permission slip? And I'm just trying to get drunk.
I just want to watch Young Sheldon in peace.
That's right. So now I'm sitting here. There's a Kurt Russell marathon on TV, and you guys are going to take me out to dinner. Wrong. You're going to come in here and you're going to make Dad some sliders. And by make some sliders, I mean, you're going to go and buy me some sliders because I know you guys can't cook for nothing. And I'm going to be watching. Castle, we are going from Escape from New York to Escape from LA. We're going to Big Trouble in Little China. This is my day. And then she's like, my dad died. And he's like, whoa, what does that mean for me? Does that mean that my holiday is messed up because your dad had to die? Look, he chose what he wanted to do for Father's Day. I shall live.
Yeah. I do love that where he's just like, a month late, a month passes and he's like, so what? So we're never going to do this ever again?
I love that. I like to think that actually happens at the funeral. Like people are crying. They're lowering the father-in-law into the ground. And he's like, well, I hope this isn't going to change my Father's Day plans.
Yeah, I hope it does. You better, that bath better be running by the time I get home.
Come June.
Yeah. Your father may be cold, but my dinner shall not.
Exactly. All this. I mean, and the thing is, he's just coming to grips with his own mortality, right? And and I understand. I mean, but I mean, I do appreciate from her perspective where it's like, look, you know what? You're not my dad. They got to do something for you. So, I mean, essentially, what she's saying is, look, they're going to disappoint you, and I get to watch. So it's kind of like a second Mother's Day,
for sure. Yeah, she's it's in a sense just throwing away another macaroni frame. You know?
In her mind, she's like, I get to bury you every June. Like that's my moment.
The sadness in your eyes, when you got a hamburger with the cold center.
I look at your disappointment and it feels like Dad is back again.
What do you think is the worst advice that you've ever gotten, Steve?
Wow, that's a great question.
Because I think that's around us all. I think we all have gotten bad advice that has sent us down a very wrong path.
Oh, sure. Right. I mean, and I think like it's probably has to do, it almost always is like a financial thing, right? Like, I mean, it feels like, like, again, no, you should go ahead and, buy that house or go, or what was it like? I think
Let me tell you, the Zune is going to make it big.
Dude, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Today I was actually reminiscing to my brown Zune. Which
just serenading to LMFAO.
It was like it was such a like, oh yeah, I understand that there is this other infrastructure going on with iTunes, but you know what, this thing that looks like just a piece of dog do, like that is the thing I want to have playing my music.
Absolutely.
It was just like, it was like a big stale Pop-Tart that played the hot jams of the early aughts.
Really settle in your fucking Nissan Altima from 2002.
No, I mean, I so it's funny because like we talked, I went back and you were talking about advice that was good, and I am going to go back and say it was stop, drop, and roll. Best advice I ever got.
Have you ever caught on fire?
Yes, I have caught on fire.
What did you catch on fire from?
Well, from working on a car engine, and I was spraying the battery terminal with the anti-corrosive spray. A spark kicked up, and it made the whole can essentially explode.
God damn.
My torso was on fire, and I stopped, drop, and roll. And it's funny because like it's not like I had just like, it's not like you go through like a weekly stop, drop, and roll reminder.
For sure, you don't hear it often.
Right. But like we grew up, I mean, I don't know about you, you're a younger guy. I mean, I grew up with, earthquake drills and fire drills. And then there were things like stop, drop, and roll that would I mean, apparently, like, I think our teachers and parents just really knew that they weren't going to do a really good job of taking care of us.
You see, you dealt with natural disasters. We dealt with people who had mental breakdowns and disasters.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you have active shooter drills, right?
It was class. Every class, I remember vividly, like how I would act and what I would do. I would like someone with an AR-15 would come in. I would elbow, grab the muzzle of the gun, rip it away from him, shoot him in the kneecaps, and they're teaching me, what an obtuse triangle is.
I think it speaks to the inevitability of where we are going to land on sort of our lax gun laws, that we go ahead and treat a school being shoot up as an inevitability, such as an earthquake.
Oh, for sure.
Like it's gonna happen. It's just you know what, you should be prepared. And like no one can predict an earthquake. Yeah, well, no one can predict when someone's gonna shoot up a school either. I mean, but it's gonna happen.
And it's so many things. You get confused. Do you stand in the doorway or do you barricade the doorway?
That's right. Right. Do you take the fatter student and hide behind them, or do you go underneath them? Like there's a lot of questions.
There's a lot of different. Do you raise your arms up to seem bigger? I don't know.
Yeah. Do you denounce Christ, or do you say I am a Christian? I don't know what their intentions are when they come in shooting.
You never know.
It's so tough. It is so tough.
This is a little. It's prefaced, and we'll get into the meat of it. When I pretend to be someone else, I have no trouble attracting women. However, the second I start revealing who I really am, all my chances go out the window.
Okay.
In the most non-narcissistic way possible, I'm a very, very good-looking dude.
Okay.
Women see me, and they see this bad boy because of the way I look and dress. However, I'm the farthest thing from it. I'm an extremely sensitive and jam-packed with emotions and very in tune with my feminine side. For a very long time, I've maintained this bad boy persona because it worked so well. Women were all over me, and for some time, I did love the attention. However, once I got to my mid-20s, I felt miserable. I wanted to experience a real relationship. I liked you better when you were quiet. Damn, I had no idea you were so emotional. You're more of a woman than I am. And so much more. It really hurt. I go on dating apps, and within a few days, I get to meet a girl. Date goes great. But a few days in, when I start opening up, the girl is immediately turned off. I was watching a movie with a girl once, and I started sniffling quietly. She was so weirded out. It was an emotional scene, frowny face. I had a dinner with a girl once, and she was asking about my future goals. I had told her I want a job where I can help children. She laughed and said, "That's so gay. What the fuck? I just want someone to appreciate me for who I am and not just what I look like. I can't just stop being who I am." It took me a lot of therapy sessions during my 20s to work through my emotions and build my personality. But it seems all of the women I go for just do not like the fact that I'm too emotionally available and sensitive. If I could compare my personality, my appearance to a notable figure, I think Russell Brand without the accent and a bit more muscular.
Well, I mean, I like to think we all envision ourselves as a better looking Russell Brand.
For sure.
I mean,
yeah. I walk around I could beat up Russell Brand right now.
I always rate my appearance every morning on like a scale of Russell Brand. Am I properly Russell Brand? Am I Russell Brand +3?
Am I above Arthur? Am I below Arthur? I don't know.
Yeah. Is someone going to help me get to the Greek today? And he made the reference to himself and said in the least narcissistic way possible. He described himself as basically gorgeous. I would like him to write back and say, like, in the most narcissistic way how he described himself, because I'm like, if this is you throwing some humility at the problem, what's it going to be like if you just let it all out?
A Greek god, let me tell you, like Icarus that doesn't fly too close to the sun.
And also, this guy's lived a life. I mean, he's talking about like he went through all of this phase of just shredding puss. And then he was like, but then in my mid-20s, I started to figure it out. Like, whoa, dude, you were a hot 13-year-old, apparently. Like you were just getting it.
From 12 to 19, he was just the fawns. And then he found dance, I guess, or he watched Marley and Me, and he came to realization.
I mean, I also kind of want to know maybe he needs to take a look at who he's dating, like maybe the one gal who saw him or heard him say that he wanted to do something with children and was like, you're gay. I mean, that
seems a little intense. Maybe he's not this bad guy playing this.
What did he say he wanted to do with these kids, by the way? Like, I mean, maybe specify.
He just wanted to work with them.
Now, like maybe there's already a baked in, maybe it was the way he said it. Yeah. I mean, and maybe she didn't have the vocabulary to say, this is a red flag.
It could be very possible. These could be some bad ladies.
It could be some bad ladies.
I
mean, he could also be sending off mixed signals, right? Like he comes in with his muscular Russell Brandness, right? And he's got this sort of like faux humility that obviously turns into a little bit of like, hey, look, this is just me being humble. I'm gorgeous. And she's like, well, I'm not sure what we're getting at. And then he's just like, and she may feel like he's just feeding a bunch of different lines coming all over the place. You're crying at this movie. You want to work with kids. You're doing one-arm push-ups.
Yeah. You made your own leather vest out of a jacket.
Yeah, exactly. It's like well, it was getting worn anyway, and I was probably busting through the sleeves. If you checked out these hot Russell Brand arms,
I kept the sleeves. I wear them as pants.
Exactly. I've taken one jacket, I've turned it into an entire outfit. How about that? How's that spark joy?
I think that's good advice. Be honest with who you are all the time.
Yeah. If maybe you're a terrible person, that's great. Own it.
Be Charlie Sheen.
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure Charlie Sheen, like, that's perfect, right? Because that's it. He's like, look, I think very highly of myself. I probably cried because cocaine is a hell of a drug, and I want to work with kids. And like when you say it in a weird way, people are like, yeah, and it's like,
It's
yeah,
a lot for an Olive Garden.
you're you're a red flag. Own it, right? You just need to look. So my advice to him is, you just need to find more damaged women.
There you go.
Right? You need to go. You said, look, that one woman from the previous thing is going to leave her husband. Yeah. So she's going to be on the market, and she's going to be looking for somebody who's kind of a take charge and like who initiates things. You sound like that guy. I think that's really what we're seeing is we have the opportunity to organically make a love connection, and everything's going to, that one guy is going to have plenty of opportunity to just sit and watch his shows and read his mysteries.
Absolutely.
And then she's going to be able to go over there and be just impressed with a hot Russell Brand.
That's really what you need. I wonder what movie he was watching that he cried during.
Right. And I think that's an important part of this story, because I think that would help us understand him a little bit more. Because like you said, like,
was it Monsters Inc.?
Yeah, was it Monsters Inc.? Right. Like if it was Monsters Inc., you're like, okay, I can kind of understand that a little bit. Also, why are you watching Monsters Inc. with this person? Because you want to work with kids, but you don't have any. This feels like a little bit of Arrested Development. But if it was Monsters Ball, that's a different thing altogether, right? Like you just like right in the middle of that weird love scene with Billy Bob Thornton and Halle Berry, and he's just weeping uncontrollably. Like that might be one of those things. But if he turns around and says, I just think Billy Bob Thornton is so beautiful, and then she's like, you might be gay.
That might be weird. Why is he saying that Billy Bob is coursing through his veins?
Exactly. And like there's a difference between being gay and being gay for Billy Bob Thornton. Those are two very different things.
I mean, who doesn't love Mr. Woodcock? You know?
That's right. Yeah. Like, I mean, like, here's the thing. I like Sling Blade because I want to just take care of somebody. I feel like I can make him better.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Give him a place. Dwight Yoakam has no idea what he's doing.
It's just all you need is some French fried potatoes and a willing spirit.
Yeah. Just get a whole bunch of lawnmowers that are broken. He'll spend hours out there.
That's what I want.
Turns out there's no gas in any of them. All right, let's do a little bit of a short one here. My wife won't let me work out while she's pregnant. Okay, so my wife just figured that she's 5 weeks pregnant. We have been trying to eat better and get healthier in general. Part of that, we bought a Peloton a few months ago that has gotten some sporadic use. I recently hit 200 pounds. I need to get serious about weight loss. The new pants I bought already fit tight. And my wife is really hurt and is adamant that I can't work out while she's pregnant. She said it's not fair for her to get bigger while I get in better shape. She didn't work out previously and doesn't feel it's safe to start now that she's pregnant. I don't want to be insensitive, but I also feel like that's not fair to me. I don't know how to feel and need perspective.
So was he just starting to work out when his wife got pregnant, or was it just sort of coincidental? Or was it one of those things where it's like, hey, you're getting pregnant, I need to get myself back out there on the market?
I think she's 5 weeks and he's like, I really need to start doing some crunches.
Right. Is that because it could be one of those things where he's like, well, I got to be in the best shape ever for this child. I want to be there for the long haul. Or if it's like, she's getting gross, I got to get back out there. Because that's I mean, I think these are important moments of clarification, right?
I mean, I am constantly looking for excuses not to exercise.
My kids are 25 and 21 years old. I'm still trying to lose the baby weight.
For sure. You don't need to be picking them up anymore to put the star on the treetop.
No, exactly. No, in fact, I'm the one that they need. Like they're like, keep eating, Dad. Maybe we'll inherit something. Like that's the whole. Like that's the circle of life, right? I mean,
they've been poisoning your food since 1999.
Exactly. I mean, I want to live to a ripe old age. To what? What am I getting in shape for? The open casket? Let's move on.
Wow, my kids have really been coming around recently with all this Del Taco. Perfect. They must really love me.
Yeah, no, exactly. When they come over with Krispy Kreme, I know what they want.
Oh, for sure.
They want my car.
That sweet, sweet demise.
Yeah, so I think, sure, if he's just like, hey, I want to get in shape, but it is an interesting thing to say, though, right? Like, I don't want you to get in shape because I'm about to have a baby. It's like, well, we're doing two different things.
Yeah.
One of the things like you could do, it would be harder because it'd be harder to work out when you have a baby, but I also can't do what you're doing.
Absolutely. It could go both ways, where he could be a weird guy doing with weird intentions, or she could be a little controlling.
Yeah. It could just be like, well, because then now it could be that she's feeling self-conscious, right? Like, so she's like, look, I'm losing, my figure or whatever it may be. And then to have you doing this, it feels like I can't, like I'm already self-conscious. And if we go someplace and people remark at how well you look now, then I'm going to take that as that's by comparison to what I look like. I mean, it's a complicated thing. I'm glad that they talked to us about it, though.
Oh, absolutely. They called us up. They emailed me, and we're trying to help.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I would say, I mean, at the end of the day, if all else fails, just leave the other person.
From what I've heard, there's a guy who doesn't want to celebrate Father's Day at his kid's house, so this could be perfect. They could really match up.
That's your worst case scenario, right? I mean, that's the cautionary tale, right? Like he gets to a point where he's like, well, fine, I won't work out. And guess what? I'm not going to help out with any plans, but I'm going to have a lot to say when it comes to the day of. Well, you didn't let me work out. So now I'm going to sit here and watch my shows and you're going to have to stay here with me.
Oh, you planned a trip to Anchorage, Alaska? Not on my watch.
This guy's over here doing push-ups like, look, not all of us look like a muscular Russell Brand, okay? Some of us have got to work at this.
I look like a bathroom floor David Hasselhoff.
I feel like this is all one family, just in different stages of their problems. Like we just targeted all the way through. Like, well, like they were dating, and he was very narcissistic, and he looked like a hot Russell Brand, and she thought like he was a crybaby. But then they got married and had a kid. He's like, well, I'm still working out. I was like, no, you don't. Then they have all these kids, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna sit at home and ruin everything.
I'm just gonna watch Get Me to the Greek 10 times in a row.
I'm like, could have been me. It could have been me.
I love Jonah Hill all the time. I have a cardboard cutout in my car of him. I drive around town and people say, is that Jonah Hill? And I get filled with so much pride.
That's right. Yeah, two-dimensional Jonah Hill is my style.
So you give advice to your kids?
I try. Yeah.
Do you find it's like, I guess you've given, they're older and you've given them, is there a time where they fucked up and you got like, hey, here's some advice so you don't fuck up again? Yeah,
well, so I think I was worse at advice early. We had kids young, like I was 20, and who was I to like give? I mean, obviously, I was 20 and I had a 1-year-old. What kind of advice? Like, just don't, right? Like, don't do that.
Don't eat batteries.
Yeah. And then when so like I was, like in like 30 when my son was 10, and I'm like, yeah, what do I know? Like, I know a little bit, right? And so, and then
vowels,
Sure. Yeah. And like, and as and here's one of the things that I think, and if I'm going to actually give advice to young parents out there, is that it's real easy to kind of have a set course. Like, this is how I think I'm going to raise my children. But then I think you have to realize that your children may not be what you thought they were. Right. And so you have to sort of, like, I parented my daughter different than my son, and the perception from each one of them was like, oh, well, then you must have liked them better because you did this differently. It's like, but the reality was they were two different people. They responded to two different types of whether it was advice or discipline or even encouragement.
Absolutely.
So you have to kind of understand that. And so I would say that, I think I give better advice now that I've had a little bit more life experience, and I think I understand them better, because then it's like, I'm not going to just like, earlier it would be like, well, you got to do this because you got to go to college. And then I realized neither one of them is like, I'm like, you guys don't want to go to college.
No.
And it's not even just a matter of want, but I'm not sure that that's the right thing for you. So then
Absolutely.
So probably the advice that I at least like to think that was pretty good advice, and we'll see how it pays out when they write their memoirs, is I said, find what you love to do and then do that, but then set like kind of your life and your finances kind of around that. So like for me, like I did comedy late, so it was really hard for me to super invest in it, because at this point I had a mortgage, I had, different bills, I had a family.
You had 7 boats you needed to pay off.
7 boats, and these boats, and these things depreciate like you wouldn't believe. And so
inflation, forget about it.
And the supply chain issues right now, who would have saw that coming? So like for me, it was like, I couldn't maybe do like if I had gotten really into it and we had and my wife and I got married at the same age, our life would have been different, right? We would have said, okay, this is the threshold that we can expect, financially, and we just live to that. So I'd always tell my kids is find out what you want to do, find out what that takes, and then live within those means, and you'll probably be more content, right? And I think my generation and then generations before, it was always like make X amount, have this. And for me, it was like, look, if you live in a studio apartment and you're like doing your art and you're not wanting for anything because you've sort of calibrated your life accordingly. And well, then that's it. Like that's making it, right?
I think that's setting them up and setting people up for a way happier life. You're not just going to a job you hate at Kinko's so you can buy, materialistic, you're having a happy life and you're supporting that with things you love.
Do whatever you can in early life to avoid the midlife crisis.
Yeah, that's absolutely fucking beautiful, dude. We'll do one more here. My new roommate has a very vocal cat.
Ooh.
My new roommate just moved in and her cat meows loudly and constantly. I Googled the cat breed, and apparently they are a cat that are particularly vocal. Usually I love cats, but this one's going to drive me crazy. Is it something I could try to adjust to? Or should I just ask her to leave? She never mentioned her cat was going to be so loud when she first came to see the room.
Wow, that is a tough one. So, I mean, I'm assuming she already knew that the cat was coming, right?
The cat was coming, confirmed.
They knew the cat, but they didn't know how vocal it
was a chatty catty.
And maybe, and so again, we don't know all the history of this roommate with the cat. Like this might be her first cat, so she may be less like, well, this is, I guess, how cats are. And so if I say a cat's a coming, there's going to be a cat or walling.
A cat's going to be a roaring in the entire place.
It's the way it goes. But kudos to you for doing the Google research to find out whether or not this is a exceptionally loud cat. I don't know how big the place is.
I think that's important in any roommate disagreement. Really thoroughly research your point.
Right.
And so you can come in with the facts.
Right. I like to go in there. I like to go, okay, what does Joe Rogan say about this issue? And then once I've weighed that against reality, I can know what I need to do to make things better.
Jordan Peterson would agree you need to do the dishes.
That's right. So there's a loud cat. So I don't know the proxy, like if they're in bunk beds, that's a problem. But like if it's different, like if it's the person's trying to study, I don't know if, is this person a meditator? I would say a white noise machine for one.
Okay.
Do you do the white noise machine?
No. I have white noise playing all the time in my head.
Right. Now I have tinnitus, so I always hear a little bit of white noise. But then we actually tried, like last night, we put a white noise machine on. It's got all these different settings. It's like static. It kind of sounds like a TV. There's one that's kind of just this hum, almost like machinery. There's like almost water sounds.
And then it helps you sleep.
Yeah, because I guess it's because of the constantness of it, right?
I think I kind of had something like that when I was a kid. I would listen to Looney Tunes sing the Beatles every single night before going to bed.
Yeah, that seems like. Yeah, and there's a setting on this white noise machine too that, like, if you turn it all the way up, it's just episodes of Friends.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the whitest noise.
Ross.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, so that's an option. And the other option is to murder the cat. I'm not saying do it. We're just throwing out all the options.
Hey, sometimes you gotta get your hands dirty when it comes to roommate.
You can have a cat's, I think, vocal cords removed. I don't recommend that either.
That sounds worse than killing it, to be honest.
Right? Just a mockery of its existence. Like that's
what
just
is this, Planet of the Apes?
So then, the other option is, I guess you could get a different roommate. I don't know what this, again, was this like a Craigslist roommate? Doesn't sound like they're friends, like they've been friends for a while because they
definitely
didn't know about the cat.
Yeah.
There's so many things that could be part of the situation. If you're in a situation where you live in an area where it's just like a desert and there's no roommates, then you kind of got to take whatever cat and person you can get. I would if you're not allergic to the cat, those are the only things I can think of white noise machine, murder the cat, maybe have a conversation with your roommate if that's your thing. But who knows if they even
maybe communicate.
Maybe you can't get a word in edgewise because the cat just won't shut up.
So goddamn loud.
Every time you're trying to say something, the cat's just, you're like, well, forget it. All right, I'll send you an email.
Yeah.
I know they have.
Who is this cat? Ben Shapiro? Come on, let him talk a little bit.
And another thing, a bright cat.
My mind went to get a bigger, louder animal.
Ooh, I like that.
To counteract, it may be a bobcat. Okay, just saran wrap them up and put them in the corner. Getting real agitated, and have that just roaring in the back.
Now, and this isn't about murdering the cat, but like get a gun, and every time the cat makes a noise, just shoot that gun right in the air. Right? I mean, I'm assuming you're renting. Maybe, obviously, maybe your landlord's like, oh, you don't want you to put things like don't put holes in the wall, and obviously the gun would be an issue. So maybe shoot the couch. I don't know, but like just every time, because after a period of time, she'd be like, man, you really shoot that gun a lot. I'm like, oh, do I? I don't even notice.
Yeah.
And then you have an opportunity to be like, oh, probably like you don't notice your cat. I'm like, oh, does my cat make a lot of noise? Oh my God. Well, I would really like you to not shoot that gun so much. Oh, well, and then now you're in a different position of like, now you're vulnerable, or at least appear to be like, oh, well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I really do like shooting this gun.
I love shooting, but let me tell you, the cat, the meow really travels through the hole.
Maybe we could make a compromise. I will stop shooting in our house if maybe you could do something with that cat. Like, and then now they're like, oh, well, geez, I feel bad for even asking him to stop shooting, but the least I could do is deal with my cat. Yeah. So get a gun, shoot the couch,
invest in a weapon, and like a master class in persuasion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or just fireworks. Just light off fireworks. Everyone like a Piccolo Pete.
A couple of M80s.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Because here's the thing, and I understand that you're renting, but there's never a situation where an indoor M80 is not awesome.
It's so cool.
So if even if they don't get the hint, what the worst thing you did was just had some fireworks fun.
Let me tell you,
I don't know who loses in that.
You've no idea how many big lots that I've walked into. It is looking drab. It is looking dreary. And I just light up a couple of M80s in the patio seating area.
Oh, yeah.
It really livens the place up.
I went into a Ross Dress for Less, went into the gown section, put 2 Piccolo Petes and one of those flowers. I walked away. I went over into housewares just to see what would happen. I'll tell you what, I know that there were some people that freaked out, but I promise you that most of them they're still talking about that today.
They had PTSD.
Yeah. Like, oh no, now I have to stop, drop and roll. But yeah, guess what? Good news. You didn't let all that advice go to waste.
Oh, Brad didn't speak, hasn't spoken for the past 8 years. Sure. But we had fun, and that's what's important.
Right. I mean, it's a story. And that's all life is. Life is searching for stories that you didn't know you needed to tell.
Hell yes. Dude, you got advice up the wazoo. If you could give advice to me, serious advice to me, Mikel Nordstrom, what advice would you give me?
Well, obviously, one is just keep doing podcasts for a living. All right. I don't know what else you do, but I wouldn't do that anymore.
I work at a wax museum.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. Then I take that back. If you can do part-time, like that would be the key, right? Like if you could bring that work home with you, that's something. Like if you could podcast with like maybe a wax Jackie Chan next to you, like, and not even like, I'm talking like old Jackie Chan, like now, like not when he was not even middle-aged Rush Hour Jackie Chan. I'm talking Jackie Chan now. Like you probably shouldn't do your own stunts, but I appreciate
the last movie he did was I think 2017 Jackie Chan.
Yeah, like we're talking like a Rush Hour 7, like even like maybe he's now aging worse than Chris Tucker, kind of Jackie Chan. But I mean, advice for you. I mean, I would just say keep on keeping on. I would say, feel free, cry at a movie. I don't care, like cry like everyone's watching.
I cry all the time. I watched a movie, Cadillac Records, where Etta James was singing I'd Rather Be Blind to Adrian Brody
Oh, wow.
I tear it up.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, you put Adrian Brody on the screen in front of me too. Yeah, try to keep these guys dry. Okay. I watched Predators and I was like, I've never felt more engaged in a alien versus man movie. I mean, Adrian Brody.
I mean, he really drives it home. His nose it's perfect. It's wow.
Adrian, and fun fact is that Adrian Brody really like kind of came to notoriety in the movie The Pianist. Mm-hmm. Every single movie he's in, he's actually playing that same character. It's just in a different adventure.
It never changes. Why does he always look like he's starving?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that's like muscularly starving. Yeah. Kind of like when I see Adam Driver, the question I have is this the handsomest ugly man or is this the ugliest handsome man? Like that's the mystery. And the whole time I'm like, but I can't take my eyes off him.
I feel like an asshole because when he had the face reveal in the Star Wars movie of like Kylo Ren, right. I laughed out loud in the theater.
The probably reaction I had like when I watched The Passion and like when they got him up on that cross, I'm like, this is funny. This is good.
These silly Romans.
I know what you're doing. And then later you realize it wasn't played for laughs.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Ooh. But Steve, again, tell people where you can be found.
Well, I showed up on this podcast, the Hell Yeah podcast, which is obviously a great thing to do. And if, don't come just for me, hang out for Mike Nordstrom and the Wax Gang. And at Ozfest, AUSFEST on Instagram. And then, of course, SteveAusburne.com, where all my updated shows will be. I will put up, what's fun is I put up a show and then it gets canceled. And then I'll remember to take it down after it would have been.
Hell yes. Cancel. Hey, everyone's canceling gigs.
All hail Omicron.
Oh, I have a little shrine right next to my Sam Elliott shrine.
Oh, yeah. With functioning mustache.
Yeah. It smells just like old tours.
You just got to come over there and give it a little spritz. Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll light a Marlboro and I'll put it near
That's
it.
Right. Yeah. What's great. And it gets smoked all the way down. It always ashes, which is great. Very polite, very polite shrine.
Yeah. It's a metaphor of for life, really, But Steve, thanks for coming on. This is the Hell Yeah podcast. I'm Mikel Nordstrom. Check us out, I guess, at other places. I don't know. We're not that far yet.
What? Hell yeah, hell yeah. What? Hell yeah. Can I get a hell yeah? What? Can I get a hell yeah? What? Hell yeah, hell yeah. What? Hell yeah, hell yeah. And I know it ain't right, and I know it ain't right, and I know you shouldn't take this advice, but make sure you really drunk when you drive and walk on some glass with no shoes on and don't pay for your meal. Dine and dash. You better not ask me for no advice because I'm gonna tell you the wrong thing to do. So can I get a hell yeah? What?